Jodie Ramsey, portrayed by Olivia Francis Brown, has caused plenty of disruption in the lives of Weatherfield residents ever since arriving on Coronation Street. However, it now appears she has finally come up against someone who refuses to back down, Sarah Platt, played by Tina O'Brien. Fans will remember that Sarah was violently attacked on the same evening Theo Silverton lost his life. In more recent episodes, she has pieced together enough clues to become convinced that Jodie was the person responsible. The breakthrough came after an offhand remark concerning David the dog barking, which made Sarah rethink the events of that night. Jodie's behavior while being questioned by DS Lisa Connor Swain in the latest episode only strengthened Sarah's suspicions. Although she believed she knew the truth, Sarah chose not to reveal her theory to Lisa. Instead, she insisted she still had no memory of who assaulted her and claimed there were no new details to add beyond her original police statement. Once the detective had left, Sarah wasted no time confronting Jodie in private. She openly accused her of carrying out the attack and warned that she was prepared to take her suspicions straight to the police. What Sarah failed to realize was that Jodie had already found a way to fight back. After overhearing Sarah's conversation with Lisa, Jodie realized Sarah had deliberately lied about the exact timing of the attack. She pointed out that Sarah had reported it as happening around 20 minutes earlier than it actually did. Turning Sarah's threat against her, Jodie warned that if the police became involved, she would expose the false timeline and explain why Sarah had been dishonest. Viewers are aware that such a revelation could have devastating consequences because Sarah has recently been unmasked as Theo Silverton's killer. On the night Theo died, he and Sarah were together on the scaffolding when he threatened her. Acting in self-defense and panic, Sarah struck him with a metal bar, causing him to fall from the structure. Terrified by what had happened, Sarah immediately contacted Gary Windus. He advised her to make sure she was seen elsewhere on the street so she would have a convincing alibi. Although Sarah never expected to be attacked afterwards, the assault ultimately helped support her version of events, at least until now. With both women holding damaging secrets about each other, they now appear trapped in a dangerous standoff. The question is whether either Sarah or Jodie will eventually break first and bring the other down in the process. Although the Driscoll family have been part of Coronation Street for less than a year, they have already found themselves at the heart of several dramatic storylines. One of the biggest shocks came when Maggie Driscoll confessed to killing her husband more than 4 decades earlier. Not long after, viewers discovered that Ben Driscoll was actually the half-brother of Steve McDonald. For a family that only recently arrived on the cobbles, they have certainly experienced no shortage of major twists. Aaron McCusker admitted he has enjoyed the unpredictable direction of Ben's journey. Reflecting on his character's arrival, Aaron explained that Ben originally claimed he had purchased the Rovers for Eva and their children so they could begin a happy new chapter together. However, the truth was that he never had the money to buy the pub and wasn't even its rightful owner, leaving him desperately searching for cash. That crisis eventually led him to seek help from his mother, Maggie, whose arrival only made the family situation even more complicated. Aaron said he initially knew Ben was devoted to Eva and shared an especially close bond with Maggie, but he had no idea the character would later be revealed as part of one of Weatherfield's most iconic families or become involved in such high-profile storylines. He added that while Ben remains fundamentally the same person who first arrived on the street, the challenges surrounding him have multiplied, making the role even more enjoyable to play. The Driscolls are now facing another emotional ordeal as they await the outcome of the trial involving Megan Walsh, the sports coach accused of grooming Ben's youngest son, Will Driscoll. Aaron explained that the situation remains incredibly difficult because Will still refuses to accept that he was groomed. Ben does not entirely blame himself for what happened, but he cannot help wondering whether there were warning signs he should have recognized sooner. His priority now is simply to support his son as best he can. Ben also fears that relocating the family may have unintentionally made it easier for Megan to tighten her grip on Will. He is still unsure exactly what happened and continues to question whether Will's insistence that Megan is innocent is genuine. Meanwhile, Eva has become determined to see Megan held accountable and is doing everything she can to ensure justice is served. Once the trial concludes and all the evidence has been presented, Megan's future will rest entirely with the jury, leaving the Driscoll family powerless as they wait for the verdict. Aaron described the court decision as a defining moment for the family. However, they are trying not to place any additional pressure on Will and have accepted that the verdict may not go in their favor. He believes the family has already succeeded in exposing Megan for who she truly is, but the final decision now belongs to the jury. Aaron also pointed out that Megan is highly skilled at manipulating people, reminding viewers that she once managed to deceive the entire Driscoll family. The only question now is whether justice will finally catch up with Megan, or if she will somehow avoid paying for her crimes once again. Summer's risky behavior in Coronation Street puts her future in jeopardy. Summer Spellman has found herself caught up in one of Coronation Street's biggest murder investigations, and the emotional fallout is pushing her towards dangerous decisions. Her nightmare began when she was identified as the prime suspect in the killing of Theo Silverton. From the police's perspective, she had a clear motive after Theo's cruel actions, which included abandoning her adoptive stepfather to die and secretly abusing her close friend, Todd Grimshaw. Suspicion only intensified because many residents believed Summer was the final person to see Theo alive. Shortly before his death, Theo cornered her in his flat and chillingly threatened her by saying, "I guess Summer had to end some time." Viewers know that Summer had nothing to do with Theo's death, even though she remains unaware of who was truly responsible. The investigation appeared to be stacked against her. Detectives uncovered her personal diary, which contained disturbing entries imagining Theo being shot, making it powerful evidence against her. After being arrested and questioned by DS Lisa Connor Swain, Summer insisted Theo was still alive when she left his flat following their confrontation. However, her account was undermined when Tyrone Dobbs refused to confirm where she had been that evening because doing so would have exposed his own involvement in Carl Webster's accident at the garage. To make matters even worse, Summer had been preparing to travel to America for her studies, something that made it appear as though she was planning to flee before facing justice. Coronation Street is broadcast on ITV1 every weekday at 8:30 p.m., with each episode also available to stream on ITVX.